Good evening.
I think we're live, y'all.
We are live.
Good to be back with y'all after missing last week.
I know it felt. I was off all week since we didn't go live.
Oh, I was beginning to question. Now Livy's fussing. I was beginning to question if we were going to be able to have enough power to meet with y'all tonight because
Yeah, preface the fact that it could very well go out
at any point in time. So if we lose, y'all know that we've lost power. We are hooked up. Our battery on our computer is charged, but we're hooked up to the internet, which is fully operated, not battery operated. I'll get it out in a minute. It's not battery operated at all.
If we cut this off, if it cuts off, we may can go live on a phone, but we are connected to.
So the computer would be able to sustain itself, but the internet would not. It would shut it off, so we would lose y'all. So just beware that at any point in time we could lose power. So far it has not been bad. The first major influx of sleet and stuff that come in, our lights flickered several times.
That was Monday.
Yeah, and then it hasn't been.
Kinfolk Farms, how are you, man? Hey, thank you so much for the seeds.
Yes, thank you so very much.
We actually have a little snip coming out in one of our videos of us opening that seed packet. So we got it in the mail.
Finally.
I think Saturday or Sunday when we checked it. So right before the storm came in. So thank you so much, Kinfolk Farm out of Georgia. Thank you so much. Hey, I saw a lot of people talking about the weather. Of course, we're in this crazy weather that we're in.
Most people are in.
I think everybody's in.
Yeah.
So we are not used to single-digit weather, so that's been unique for us to experience, just because we've not had that.
Through the nights, it's been like when the temperature would drop really low.
And y'all know we have a lot of animals, so I think it was funny. I told Miss this the other day. I think I loved winter because you could not mow. Your garden season was kind of easy. Now, the more animals we get over the last few years, how much we realize I don't like winter at all. Because we have literally been outside working in this crazy weather, and it stormed today. So I'm scared we're going to have black ice tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's our third or fourth day of snow and ice and rain.
Sleet. So. Well, it started with sleet. So
run away.
I walked Jennings out for a little while today, and we both almost slipped because right outside of our garage is like 2 inches or maybe even more than that.
About 6 inches, girl.
The whole water hose is like under the ice, and it's all frozen over. So it's not like the soft, fluffy, lovely snow that you can make snowmen out of. I mean, it's like slick, frozen solid ice is what we're dealing with. So
thank you, Miss Tina. Yeah, so it's
definitely not used. We are not used to that in our area. So we've had lots of wrecks and stuff too.
Thank you so much for all the people saying that they love our channel. Laura from Alberta, Canada. How crazy is that? So what's been so unique here is our whole way of life shuts down. And I know for a lot of you in the South, we can ride out a hurricane and go to Walmart and be fine. But something about ice and snow just shuts us down. So our interstate has been shut down actually at our whole exit for about 10 miles. So we actually can't even get on the interstates or anything like that. So it's kind of made everybody go into this hysteria, panic mode this last 3 days. It's really been crazy. There's been no supermarkets. Now, again, we have a lot of food here, but for most people, there's no supermarkets, no anything open. So all of a sudden, Walmart opened today. And when I say it was pandemonium, like the police had to go to Walmart today. It was crazy. So we're not used to this weather.
No. Stacy lives about 30 minutes from us, and she says it's solid for sure. Yeah, that's the crazy thing is I think we would be able to handle it better if it was the white fluffy stuff, but that's not what we have. It's all just sleet and frozen ice, so that's hard for us to deal with because you can't drive on the roads. Even if you just barely touch the brakes, it'll put you off the road, which is what a lot of people have been dealing with.
I think there was like 30 wrecks last night in our town, and our town's not a big town, but it just people kept spinning off the roads. Every volunteer fireman in this area was out on the roads last night pulling people out of ditches.
And
so,
it's because we don't have the chains and we don't have the people. The MDOT is not familiar with this, so when our roads ice over, like, because it gets wet at night, whether the snow or the sleet, whatever, melts, and then it freezes, it turns what we call black ice. And so we don't have people equipped to go out and scrape that off or try to get that cleared off or cleaned off, because we're just not used to that. It happens like less than a handful of times.
Somebody asked us. They said, "Hey, why have they not put salt out?" We don't even have a county or city worker even working, much less when they do, they throw out sand, and it just makes a complete mess. So we don't have anything like that. We're not ready for it. Walker Farm fam, what's going on? So I saw somebody ask about the animals. So far, they are doing great. They have been troopers through all this: the chickens, the turkeys, the ducks, the cows, the sheep, everything.
They've all had lots and lots of hay to bed in.
We're worried about our bees, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the bees, and we have our Freedom Rangers that are right out back, and it's so hard to give them what they're in. It's so hard to give them hay to bed in. So I've been worried about them because, and even usually in our area, it's like if it gets cold a night and like cold a morning, usually the snow, ice, sleet, whatever we get by the next afternoon is gone.
Yep.
So for us to have like days of this is really, really weird. And I saw Craig on there said that he's about 40 minutes from us.
About 20 or 30.
And it felt like 40 last time I went to his house. I just kept driving and just
middle of nowhere.
I was like, I felt like a kid. Are we there yet? Anyway, so no water or lights out that area. My parents don't have electricity at their house either, and they're only about 10 minutes away from us. So I see some people without power and stuff, and that's.
Right away, we do not screen bottom board our hives. We actually use a hardboard bottom. Let me go back. Some of our hives are a double decker, so on the bottom of them, we do have a pan. We do an oil pan in the bottom of most of our hives, and then some of them are solid board. I don't do the screen board in any of them except for the oil pans.
Walker Farm fam said, Chris, 21 now, never thought I'd be happy to see the 20s. The negatives about got to us. So thankfully, we did not get into the negatives. I think we would have all died had our temperatures dropped.
Ready for this weather to be done. Like, we have such a mess, and we already have low areas
all day today.
All day.
And then of course the temperatures are going to drop again tonight. So that's goes back to the danger of people being on the road in our area tonight. And there are some people like our business and nurses and doctors, certain doctors and firemen and ambulance drivers, and there's so many different policemen, so many different people that they don't have a choice to call in and say, I'm not going to come in today. Like, they have to go to work. And so prayers for them, really, and all of the South area that's experiencing this terrible weather.
So far, though, we still have power, so we can't say enough about that. So, as you talked about in our title, how
I wish it would. I will never say again. I wish it would snow again.
Oil pans for bees, 5W30 or what on all Big Dave. Actually, we use vegetable oil, and that is it. So that's kind of funny. Let's see. Luckily, we have a plow truck and salt trucks. Just not many. We do not have any.
We don't have. I mean, that's just our area. Last time we got snow was before I got pregnant with Jennings. That was our last snow, and he's 2.5.
So it's been fun. I laugh because there was a person up north and they didn't have the temperatures
41.
We do. Oh yeah, like in Alaska.
That is crazy.
So we've had crazy weather here. So
we really have, and we're, like we said, our area is just not used to that.
Which brings us to the point we're used to, hurricanes and things like that in the summer. So we've kind of been used to prepping and things like that. But as we talk about 2021, we have not got our potatoes in the ground yet because it is nasty, and I'm glad we haven't. I actually read something today that said, what did it say? It said,
snow is fine, no to ice.
There was something.
Totally agree.
Thunder in February, and we had thunderstorms in winter. I've never even
lightning.
I've never even done that. But it said that means for a late frost in April. So it kind of scares me after I heard that old wives' tale and farmer's almanac tale. I'm like, ooh, gosh, I don't know. Our potatoes would probably get scorched then. So I'm kind of nervous about that. But we're going to be planting those this next week if we can get good temperatures. What's so funny? It's supposed to be like 65 in about 3 days.
We have lifestead. It's been raining so much there. They got stopped by the Coast Guard and was given a ticket for not having a life jacket. Look, I've got to say, I have seen some of the funniest
Christopher Malphus
things.
Welcome. Thank you.
On Facebook and stuff like that, scrolling. That said, there was one that said, "For all you Northerners, your weather is down here in our backyard, and it's junk. You need to come get it." Like that, there has been some.
The 7-day free trial.
Yeah, we're done with our 7-day free trial of Alaska weather. We're ready for it to be canceled. And then there was one, the cutest one that I seen it was a picture, and it said, "Don't worry, guys, she's." I just happened to scroll. It said, "Don't worry, guys. The weather's going to get better. She's out of here." And it had a picture of a cop hauling Elsa off from Frozen. And it was super cute.
So what are you doing right now to make your 2021 better? So we talked about this a few videos ago. So we talked about food sustainability. What have you done this year or planned for this year? Here, we were just talking about this with our local co-op. You can't even find red wheat here right now. You can't even find a lot of the things, like they were struggling trying to get peas, which we kept a lot of our peas from last year, so we're good. But if you look, a lot of the co-ops are not able to get the normal things that we get. So are you saving seeds for food sustainability?
Stacy said she already has her potatoes in the ground, but she's got them covered. And hopefully they'll be okay.
Stacy, they should be. As long as the green is not coming through yet, you should be fine. A lot of people actually plant in fall to let them winter through the winter season, and then they'll start coming up in spring. So you're okay.
The chicken and dumplings was really good.
It was fun.
There's nothing like home-raised chicken, though.
So Runaway Homestead said, I ordered a sawmill. That is pretty awesome. We've been talking about that. That is really cool. There's one person that does have that. Three Musketeers is composting. We have been composting like crazy here, too.
Whoever made Elsa mad, y'all need to apologize to her.
Call Me Jay said, I've got some seeds going inside. My cabbage and onions have come up. Our onions and lettuce is looking good pre-snow. So we'll see what they look like when snow thaws out. Yeah, Stacy, you should be okay as long as they're not sprouting yet. Perfect. Let's see. It says millions of dollars of corn grain and sorghum has been lost here in Texas. See, Gray Marlin, that's what's so crazy. I've been watching two YouTubers lately, and they talked about the conventional farm method and how, I'm sorry, something popped up on our screen, guys. How the conventional market, where they've been used to getting wheat and sorghum and corn and soybeans, and they were saying those markets were going to be really bad this year. So when you think about that, that kind of scares you a little bit to make sure that you're trying to do all you can to grow.
Yep, because Texas is another one that you just don't get this kind of weather. It's very bizarre.
Walker Farm fam, you need to come visit us. That will sound awesome. Y'all need to come see us here at the Max.
Yes, absolutely.
Christopher, thinking about getting some chickens. I think you should always get.
You're talking about laying hens.
Yeah, laying hens. I would say 6 to 12. That's a good number. If you can house 6 to 12.
I would say at least 6. Mm-hmm. They do better in a flock, but some people do have just 3 and 4, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you buy them from chicks, if you get 3 or 4, you may lose 1 or 2. So if you get 6 and you lose 1 or 2, then you would still kind of be, and you might not lose any. It really just depends. Like our last batch of Cornish cross, which I haven't seen Sam on here tonight, but our last batch of Cornish cross, the ones that we have in the garage now, did really, really well. 1 come already dead, and then we lost 1, and it was like not looking great that first and second day anyway. But the others have done amazing, so I've been very, very proud of that.
I think it's right. I think it's one of those things, like Stacey said, that this has been a test to see what we can improve on. I think 2020 and 2021 so far, it's been that. I know it can be better.
One of the other things that I read was 2020 was all messed up, and now here we are with 2021, and it's drinking or you got to 20. Let's see, what did it say? 2020 was messed up, but now here we are with 2021, and it's already drinking or something like that. Those are so funny to me, though.
Let's see. I think I missed one. I live in Massachusetts, and they trying to tell my sister in Texas how to handle the weather has been weird. Yes, it's been so strange for us down here. So, yeah, I'm worried about the alfalfa too, because we buy a lot of our alfalfa, organic alfalfa in bulk, and a lot of it comes from the West and Midwest. So when we talk about that, that kind of worries us a little bit, because I saw that the alfalfa fields were struggling as well. So I think in total, if you're buying your bulk grains, you better go ahead and start stacking up, like we talked about, buying your chickens and your chicks and your vegetable seeds and all that, because
it may get wilder. They might not. Well, even what we saw last year in March and April, it's people were placing orders, and we never in our wildest dreams, all the times that we've ever ordered, have never said, sorry, we can't take your order at this time. I mean, that's never been like an issue until last year. We really kind of started seeing things like really changing.
I think what's neat though, like me and Misty were talking about sustainability for us, we have all our animals, we're raising our meat, just about every kind of meat you can think of, we raise here on farm. Plus we deer hunted this year, and Aiden was able to harvest one. Our vegetables did phenomenal in spring. They struggled in fall. But here's our next thing for 2021. Our goal now is to say, okay, can we feed our animals sustainably on farm? We feed ourselves on farm, but ultimately we still rely on some of the things that the store gets us for some things we want, but really more for our animals. So we're really trying to find ways that we can grow things on farm to make sure that our animals are taken care of. We talked about growing more cornfields, not really for us, but really for the grass of the corn,
right,
and the corn husk for the pigs and chickens, because that's things that really need more sustenance than what the lambs and cows do. Lambs and cows, they're good with grass, but chickens and pigs really need a little bit more than just grass.
Right, and we were even talking about like ways. I'm gonna let you read that and address that question right here about the chickens. We were really even talking about too how non-GMO corn just does not grow well in our soil. We don't really know why. We got corn last year, but it wasn't the big, huge, beautiful ears of corn like you would see from the GMO seed, but we use non-GMO seed. So what we were talking about is, even if our pigs needed that extra, they wouldn't have to eat corn by itself per se. They could eat the husk and all the other stuff that go along with that, can still be chopped up and minced up and mixed with other things that will make it go further, that will still feed them. They'll still be getting great nutrition from just that too.
We're thinking about doing the fodder and using the red wheat berries for that. We have red wheat berries coming. We have we have a mess load of them anyway, but we're going to plant a wheat field this year and see if it can really come up, because wheat's really been hit hard this year. Let's see. On the question about egg bound, I'm not sure on that, Andrea. I would say, as long as you're keeping your chickens in the best environment to lay. Chickens are moody, so if all of a sudden one dies, then the rest of them can get very scared or have the same issues that may be going on and just made it through it. I would definitely put them in a different atmosphere, or make sure you just kind of change their diet to a heavier protein, and that should help them, by the way.
We've been doing extra things for our chickens. You guys hear us talk about how ours are just not laying very well. And then we've had people say, do apple cider vinegar, do mealworms, do, different things. And you know what is so crazy is we keep a heat lamp on them. They do get treats from time to time. We don't give them mealworms every single day,
right,
but they do get that. They do get scratched. They get calcium. What is the oyster shells?
Mm-hmm.
They get They get the mealworms. They get red pepper flakes. They
Sage,
get
all kind of
babied.
stuff.
They get herbs. They get babied probably more than what they should. The only thing that we don't let them do is free range. We don't let them free range because they eat our lettuce.
Right.
I'm talking about just, a lot of people just open up the coop and let them just roam the whole yard. They get in our lettuces. They get in our beds and scratch and eat our greens. they come on the porch and poop all over the porch. And I just am not having that. So, and that's like I was telling Colby, when they get in our raised beds where our herbs are, and we have different things like carrots and lettuces and, all kinds of stuff growing out there, it's not worth the few little eggs that they give us for them to destroy our food source. So,
yes, we do move our well, we have 2 sets of chicken or 3 sets of chickens now, and some more poultry. But with we do move our flocks when it comes to our permaculture chickens. We rotate them, and then we also our meat birds we rotate them. Then our egg layers we predominantly keep in our hen house, and we put deep bedding in.
My chickens are still laying like crazy for 2 months. We didn't get much. Well, this is the first fall/winter for us
that
ours just almost went to nothing. Which was
first year, really. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this.
A lot of people that's happened to. For us, that has just never happened. So when they completely stopped laying, we were completely caught off guard.
But I guess my thoughts is when something else is doing bad, like it seemed like our chickens stopped, our ducks have started back laying, so we're pretty much getting eggs. Like there was two today, 2 yesterday,
2 eggs a day,
and that's good. So it's like we provided in another way when something else is not going as well as it has. Just like you saw us harvest the pigs, so we've got pork running out our ears as our steers are getting ready too. So. And then we were able to harvest the deer. So again, it's one of those things for us. We want to try to have every avenue of a true homestead, so that way, when something is faltering, something else is doing really good. Like we're going into spring,
and things come in season, just like you would with your vegetables and stuff like that. Things come in season.
Well, we've made the comment that our fall vegetables usually do the best, but this year was just one of those years that it didn't, and it was the weather and all that played into it. We still have like 2 freezers full of spring vegetables that we're still eating on. So I think it's good that we still have vegetables running.
I mainly blame it on the Freedom Rangers.
Hey, Marie,
during that season that they were getting out and just destroying our beds. I mean, we really have not had that kind of damage since they've stayed in that new house. So
Walker Farm fam, we're almost the same way when it came to our meat. We have a few steaks left and things like that. So when Aiden killed the deer, it allowed us to have that deer meat to kind of hold us over.
Backup.
One of our steers could be ready if we just had to take them to slaughter, but we're really trying to grow them bigger. We really want to try to get them as big as we can. So we're hoping our deer meat hangs on.
Big Dave, if they are not laying by March, they will be gone. March or April. I give them to March, into March-ish. If they've not picked back up and start laying, I will not continue to feed them for them to not give us anything.
We were not happy with this whole batch of chickens for some reason.
And what's crazy is I hatched all them out, which is
they just were not good.
The kids of the other. I mean, I have hatched
that
out
Yarny
multiple
stuff.
times.
Thank you. Welcome.
So I don't know. It's been really weird with
our ducks are with our turkeys and our chickens are separate. So we do keep our ducks and turkeys together. They work great together because the ducks like being low, the turkeys like being high. So we put our older chickshaw in there. So the turkeys like to roost on the older chickshaw. The ducks like to be under it. And we do have an awesome video coming out with the easiest way to make a duck house. And when I say it's probably less than a minute, I'm going to have to find other things to put in the video because it's that easy. So once you see that, it's the easiest way to make a duck house. Yeah. So on a budget completely.
That's good, Stacy. And I saw Little Pig Farm talking about how y'all are just getting an abundance of eggs. We always have. So this year has just been like we've had to buy eggs for the first time during this fall winter season for the first time in years.
We're actually going to once we finish up with this organic feed that we're trying, we are not going back to it. So we've been with this for about 2 months.
Said that they've hatched some and some I hatched, some the mamas hatched. The only thing with the way our coop is set up is we did have a hen that did go broody. I left her some eggs, but if she would get up for any reason, the other chicks would get on there and they would either bust them or some would get lost. They would get knocked out, but she didn't get up very much. I mean, sometimes she wouldn't even get up to go eat when we dumped the feed. But even when she hatched them in there, they were up so high. The chicks wouldn't have had ways to get in and out. And I moved her out and put her in her own space, but then she wouldn't sit on the eggs.
All right, so a few questions. Walker Farm fam, actually, we went with a different coop. We were actually trying to put them in. When they were small, they would go inside something to like a coop. They would go in at night. We got away from that because really turkeys do not need any kind of cover. All they want is shade from sun and a roost. So they started roosting on this big outside thing, and they never have gone into this. Since they've gotten bigger, they've never gone into it. The pigs ran them out one time when the piglets were small. After that, they never went back in the little hen house coop that we have for them. The ducks hate it, so they'll go underneath it. They like to go underneath it and lay. And then turkeys like to be on that. So it actually works out good. We do move our turkeys. Our turkeys are on our garden as we speak. So they're working it. I missed a few more. Let's see. Lotus Blossom said my kombucha very first worked great. My next 2 batches mold. Second, coconut sugar does not work. Third batch, months later, just a film of mold SCOBY on bottom. Any suggestions? You've got air getting to your SCOBY and you've got bacteria, you need to start over.
What I would do if I were you is whatever brewing vessel you're using, I would chunk. I would start over and make sure that you're being very sanitary with as far as, like, sometimes I won't use a spoon in there until I wash it. Just so I know I'm not putting anything in there, which mold is a little bit different than bacteria, but I would just be real careful with the utensils and stuff like that I'm using. Make sure you wash your hands before you.
That could be when you got your other SCOBY out. Could have been something on your hands.
But I would definitely make sure that you're not killing your SCOBY. Make sure that your kombucha is your tea that you're adding to your SCOBY. Make sure your tea is not too hot. Because if you pour it over in there, then you're basically killing your SCOBY, and then you just have sweet tea sitting in the brewing vessel. Those would be the things that I could think of. Make sure that it's getting covered well. I would use several layers of cheesecloth and make sure you got a good rubber band or something clamping that down with. I actually use a double layer bread bag, which is like a muslin cloth type.
Muslin cloth.
Whatever. Tight bag that I put on there, and then I wrap it around really tight with a rubber band to make sure that no fruit flies or anything like that can get in my brewing vessel. Those would be my suggestions.
And we're going to keep on going because there's another kombucha question coming up. Last question. What's the difference in laying chickens and meat chickens? Laying chickens tend to be they're slower grow, they're heritage breed, and they tend to grow just what you're wanting, eggs. Meat birds tend to be a little bit more conventional. So you have your Cornish cross, you have your Freedom Rangers or Red Rangers. They tend to be a quicker grow, so they become a meat chicken.
They're double-breasted, wider.
That's right. Your heritage breed becomes almost like a thinner breast, a little bit more dark meat, just a little bit different bird. Now, you have a dual-purpose bird like a Jersey Giant. We've raised those before. Even the Freedom Rangers almost become a dual-purpose. But if you're looking for a meat bird, Cornish cross is where it's at.
Yeah, we were going to try to keep the Freedom Rangers
as
a dual-purpose bird.
Buff Orpington's a good one too.
But they're like the escaped convicts of chickens.
To this day.
Yeah, so the ones that got caught, the ones that were out that we caught finally, that were eating all of our fall stuff that we planted. We ended up putting them in the completely closed-in coop. And still to this day, if we open the door to walk in, or when we open the laying boxes, there will be the Freedom Rangers that are in there try to get out every time.
A few things. The turkeys I don't know if the turkeys are laying yet. I think these are the duck eggs that we've been getting. Stacy, Walker Farm Him, yes, Premier One fencing. It's phenomenal for our turkeys. Now, one thing about turkeys, they're going to get them out. They're going to get out. Turkeys will get out of your nest.
Wings.
But let them understand where they're fed. Let them understand what home is. And they will not do like a chicken or duck and just make a mess of your yard. They really are a cleaner bird. Now, let me go back and say this about turkeys and ducks. Do you want turkeys, or do you need turkeys and ducks on your homestead? No. If you don't have room for them, don't grow them. There's no reason to grow them.
Unless you want the egg.
Unless you want to eat them.
Right,
too.
or you want to eat them.
Because
we killed off our turkeys and we eat them.
But turkeys.
And some people do eat duck.
Turkeys do want more grain. Turkeys tend to eat more, and turkeys don't lay as often. So if you're not eating turkey, you don't need turkeys.
You need to want them.
Yeah.
With a purpose.
Instead of it just being a yard ornament. Right. Now, if you want a yard ornament, get 2 or 3, you'll be fine. But turkeys are hard to grow from poults too. I mean, they're going to die. They're going to die. We
had probably 30 and ended up with like maybe 12 or 15.
We had 15 total, and then we had 12.
Hawks. We had several that just died. I mean, we actually
they just like to die, man.
Yeah, we actually had them past the chick stage. They were actually like in full pullet stage, and we would just walk out and find them dead.
Great question, Kelly.
Really
I'll let Miss Mack answer this. My tea never created a SCOBY. Does it need a warm environment? So walk them through SCOBY in a live answer question.
Okay, if you just made sweet tea and put it in a jar, it's not going to work. You have to have a culture to start that process. So if you just made tea and put it in a vessel, sweet tea, it's not going to make a SCOBY.
It's not going to age itself out.
It's not. You have to have a culture. You have to have the bacteria and the yeast added to the sweet tea. Then your SCOBY will grow. A SCOBY is a symbiotic culture of yeast and bacteria. That's what it stands for. Bacteria and yeast. I said it backwards. Same difference. So anyway, so that's what it is. It is, you need a culture. You can find a culture if you want to go to Walmart. I found mine at Whole Foods. I don't know why you don't want any flavor in there, but I was taught
raw kombucha
that you want original unflavored kombucha, and you can buy it at Whole Foods. And you want to bring it to room temperature, make some sweet tea, get them together in a brewing vessel. And yes, it does need a warm environment, but it also needs a dark environment.
Absolutely.
So mine stays, there's a cabinet right past this blue piece. It's a closed up cabinet, and I put it in the top of that and leave it there. If you're starting it will need probably about 4 weeks. So you would get your culture, make your sweet tea, put them together, and within about 4 weeks, you would have kombucha and you would have a SCOBY that you would be able to continue to use. I hope that makes sense.
Walker Farm fam, what breed of turkeys do we have? We had Bourbon Reds, White Holland, Royal Palm, Narcisets, Slate. Let's see if I can name them all. And then bronze-breasted, white bronze-breasted. So we killed off the bronze-breasted and white bronze-breasted and a White Holland, and we still have Bourbon Red, Royal Palms, and White Hollands. That's kind of what we have left. And we have one Blue Slate still left.
What did something get out there?
A bronze-breasted. They got one of our big bronze-breasted we kept.
Yeah, something Patty Mae doing her lovely farm. She was not over there, apparently. Something got one of our big guys out there. We found him dead with his head off. So, where
do y'all buy your Cornish Cross? Okay, you want to answer that?
No, go ahead.
Tina, where do you buy your Cornish Cross? All right, I'm gonna be honest with you. We've bought from 4 or 5 different places. So far, our best luck has been Purely Poultry. They're phenomenal.
The past two times we bought from them.
3. We've bought 3 times so far from Purely Poultry. We've bought from Crackle. We've bought from a lot of hatcheries. The Chick Hatchery, Meyer. We've bought from all of them. I'm not saying any of them are bad. Purely Poultry is usually less money, and so far we've been very happy. They send extra birds, or either they guarantee their birds. So we've been very, very pleased with Purely Poultry. We're not affiliated. I wish we were, but we're not affiliated. But they are a phenomenal country.
Is that the next question? I'm gonna let you get there.
Turkeys are hard to keep alive too. All right, can you use metal for stirring new kombucha, new SCOBYs every time used?
I don't recommend using metal or stainless steel, anything like that. My brewing vessel is glass, and I would recommend you to use wood or something along those lines. Staying away from any type of metals or stainless steels. It kind of goes along with the yeast as far as like sourdough. It's not recommended to do stainless steel and metal type stuff with that because of the way it affects the yeast. So I don't recommend it, but I won't say that I have never not used it.
But remember, again, this is something that anytime you're fermenting or having sourdough or having yeast, it's a live bacteria. So the last thing you want to do is give it more reasons to either not grow or grow too much or cause issues with mold. So like Missy was saying, you may want to buy an organic raw wood spoon just for your kombucha.
Yeah.
You may want to have a vessel, which Misty does, just for kombucha. Just have whatever cloth on top. Let it be just for kombucha. I will say
that I have never used a regular spoon because I'm sure I have before, just being in a hurry because I make it usually and I'm running constantly. So I won't say that I've never used it before. It's never affected mine at all. But I probably wouldn't make a habit of that. But I won't say if you use it once, it's just going to totally ruin everything because that likely won't happen either.
And so Christopher says, what is kombucha?
Kombucha is a fermented tea. I use black tea and green tea. And basically you're putting this culture in there and you let it sit for a period of time and it eats the sugars out of the sweet tea and changes it into a fermented drink. And it is very gut healthy. I saw somebody on here earlier say probiotic. It is a probiotic drink. It's very, very good for you. And we drink it on a daily routine. It is a non-alcoholic drink. Yeah. It does produce some
just
alcohol,
like sourdough bread or anything like
just
that.
like your sourdough does. It does get yeasty. But if you drink like a gallon of it, it's not going to make you drunk. And when I say gallon, I mean like a gallon. So
it will make you go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you might not get off the toilet.
You might have a bad night, but we do. We like the bourbon reds and Royal Palms too, Walker Farm fam. Kelly Miller, you do want to. I know Misty said this a while ago. The unflavored kombucha is harder to find, but you do want to find that. To me, that could have been your problem because the more they put, when they flavor it, they're usually doing a second ferment on it. So that could have been your problem. I mean, I don't know if that was your problem, but I would definitely try to find the GT Dave's unflavored kombucha.
It's called original kombucha.
That's right. You're usually going to have to go to. I
have a video on that, and I show the bottle that I use.
You're not going to be able to find them. Like if you go to Walmart or you go to Kroger or Publix, you're going to find kombucha. Everybody's starting to do kombucha, but they're usually flavored. If you go to like a true health store or a Whole Foods, they're going to have the raw kombucha.
I had to drive an hour to get mine. Yeah. That's how desperate I was. Nobody in my area had a SCOBY.
And you buy it online, it's crazy expensive.
If you can find a SCOBY, somebody that's in your area, you don't even have to wait for the SCOBY to grow.
Yeah.
Because that is your culture. You just put it in your sweet tea and it begins to ferment. So you would not even have to go through that 4-week process. Typically within 5 to 7 days, you would already have kombucha. However, nobody in my area that I knew had a SCOBY, so I made my own. And I have shared multiple SCOBYs with multiple people, even with my animals, and they're very good for your animals. Now, some people like the Rizzas, our friends, the Rizzas that live up in Maryland, they actually use their SCOBY to make like
SCOBY shots and
they do SCOBY shots. But what did he make that time? Fruit. It's like fruit roll up.
Yeah. He used it and he used it and made a blueberry leather.
Right, a leather.
So it was a leather. He used the kombucha
and they ate
it
and it was really good. And I saw Little Feet Farm say that she liked sweet tea but not kombucha.
Kombucha you can't compare to sweet tea. You got to compare it to like a punch or like a ginger ale or something like that. It reminds you of something. It didn't remind you of a beer, but it reminds you of what I would think of if you go to a wedding and drink a punch. That's what it kind of reminds me of.
Right. And I will say this. The kids especially like the second ferment. They like to pop it open and hear the fizz, and kind of reminds them of like a pop.
A pop? We always say pop. A Coke. A flavored Coke.
It just reminds you of like a soda drink or like carbonated drink because what happens is You get your kombucha in there. You give it a fruit, like whether you put raw pineapples, like cut up pineapple, blueberries, or whatever in there, or juice, fruit juice, whatever. But then what happens is then that kombucha or the culture that's in that drink then feeds off of what you just gave it, and it's an airtight. See, I knew some people in here would know what pop was.
We don't call it pop.
It's in an airtight container, and it produces gas. So you have to be very careful, because one of my kids popped the top one time, and the top popped them. And well, thankfully it was only the rubber part that hit Harley in the top of the head, because she popped it and it was so much pressure from that carbonation, that gas build up, that it literally shot the top off. So you have to be careful.
A few things. We're trying to answer those questions, Donna. Thank you. You can buy it in store. You can buy a brand. GT Dave's or Kavita are the two brands that we used to drink all the time before we started making it.
I like both of them.
I liked Kavita probably the best. It was cheap and it was good and yummy. Let's see. All right, let's see. Someone said, I spent the day moving livestock around. What a test to do when it's freezing. Amen. We bought snowwear for some reason.
On Aiden today.
Yeah, he did it today. The last few days I've been able to help him, but I had to go to work today. So let's see. I'm trying to hit all these questions. If you see anything, catch them now.
We call everything, really, it says, what's wrong with pop? Do you say soda? What we really say down here is a soft drink.
Really, most people, yes. Most people would say some people would either say what kind of drink you want or what kind of Coke you want. You know, it's just a Coke, but if you're like, say, oh, I want a Sprite. So that's what they would say. Now, we don't even drink soft drinks, so I couldn't tell you the last time we had it.
You just said soft drinks.
Right.
Most people say, I would say most people around
here. If
here
people
say
call it
drink.
pop or soda around here, everybody kind of looks at them like they're not from around here. So most times people say, what do you want to drink? All right, do you want a soda? You want a soft drink? You want a soft drink? So that's kind of what they would say here. Let's see. We always get in that conversation about soda and pop here. So actually, we saw a joke today that said, we now know what the
thing. Everything is a Coke.
Yes, that's right.
It really is.
So what's so funny though is today somebody was not making fun, but they were joking. They said they know why the Northerners now call it pop, because they left one in their cup holder, and their car was cold and it busted in their car. And that's why they said they called it pop.
Wow, really?
No, that was a complete joke, but that's what they were saying. But they don't call it that. We don't call it that either.
It used to be called soda pop in the old days. And maybe it was because of the fizz, like because of the carbonation, when you pop the can, it makes a pop sound because of the carbonation.
So Miss Kathy,
that would be a good thing to research.
Miss Kathy said on North Star Prep Share, she uses freeze-dried fruit for the second ferment. We've used fruit. We tend to like. We've gotten to where we get on this kick with pineapple. I like pineapple peach. Missy likes pineapple.
Our favorite.
But it just seems to, I guess the acidity in it does really well for it.
It
so
makes
it does
it
make
carbonate
it very carbonated
really well.
Yeah.
And that's what my kids like. Like they like to open it up and all the air
How
bubbles.
How about you, Hank? What's going on? How are y'all,
man?
Like
we've opened it up before, and it literally half the drink comes out because there's so much carbonation and fizz. And that's how we like it.
Yeah. Hank, I'm sorry, man. We were trying to get on a while ago on your live, but when you have 6 kids, it just sometimes doesn't work as easy as that. Oh goodness!
Like we were like 2 minutes late getting on ours because Jennings was throwing down.
Is it normal for this chick to still be very wet in incubator after 9 hours of hatching? I'd let you answer that.
I wouldn't say very wet. Have you felt it? Does it look really wet? Because the feathers might have dried like that. Sometimes they will learn how to preen and fluff those feathers out, but sometimes they might not do it till later, and it might have just dried like that and look wet. So that really, I would not say that they are still very wet 9 hours later. I wouldn't say that was.
But you're not going to hurt leaving in there for a few more hours just to make sure.
They can go when they detach from their sac. That sac that feeds them even while they're growing empties enough hydration and nutrition into that chick for them to be able to survive for several hours after hatching.
I think I've heard it's like 12 to 24 hours. I'm not saying leave them in there that long, but I mean,
I usually leave mine in the incubator for at least 12 hours. Yep.
But if you've got a good brooder or it's warm, when you take them out, they'll be fine too.
Rehab Life said if it's got fizz, it's a Coke.
That's what we would say too. I mean, most people say what kind of Coke you want. I mean, that's what they would call it around here more than they would a soft drink or anything else. So we always go on kombucha and sodas and pop. So
Henry's Honey says, I've been in the South most of my life, but I call it either soda or pop, lol.
Oh my gosh. Let's see.
Yeah, don't open the incubator until you have to. But when it starts preening itself, I guess preening is a word. But when it starts taking its beak and doing the feathers, and it will fluff up more. I definitely would not open the incubator until you absolutely have to, because if you have other ones in there that have not hatched, then you're letting humidity out to check on one chick. So I would definitely give it several more hours because it's fine. It doesn't immediately need food and water. It's okay.
We answered a lot of questions. This has been a good one here. So thank y'all for asking these questions. I hope we're answering them good for you. And I saw somebody a while ago say they liked us when we watched moving the animals and things like that. So thank you so much. That's our life. So that's why we show it, because we literally move animals all the time. Actually, I told
this weekend, y'all got to move everything.
We've got big moves this weekend because, as you saw in, I think, this last video, we haven't been able to move because of all the crazy weather. So we've got a lot of moves to do this next week. It's going to be a long weekend.
And also, on the chicks, I had to learn the hard way about helping chicks hatch. It's not something that I recommend doing whatsoever. I have never had great success with helping a chick hatch. A good rule of thumb to remember is if it's not strong enough to get itself out of the egg, it's not strong enough to live outside of the egg. So I had to learn the hard way. I hatched several because you want to help them so bad, especially when they're halfway there and they just cannot get out. And I kept telling myself they're just so exhausted. If I can go ahead and hatch them out and just let them get on up. But then usually it's always the rear end of one of them is messed up. I had one that had scissor beak, so ended up dying because the beak was like this and it couldn't hold food in its mouth when it was trying to eat. I had one that had
wasn't fully developed outside.
Yeah. Well, I had one. I've had all kinds of things. So I finally just said, okay, I'm not helping. And I've had to baby several, like dip their beaks so many times around the clock to try to get them back up and on their feet. And sometimes they still don't even make it. So I've just had to learn the hard way. Do not mess with them. Let them, if they can't get out, don't help them. They're not likely not going to make it. 9 out of 10 chances they're not going to make it anyway.
But you've got to have that same mentality with all of your livestock. And I say that, and I hate to say it like that, but if you've got an animal that is just, you've always got a baby, that animal does not need to keep reproducing. That animal probably is not going to make it, or it needs to be a pet, because it's just not gonna be sustainable.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
You have to have sustainable livestock.
Farm is right. It's sustainability. So that makes me remember Elsa. I mean, we loved our Elsa, especially Colby. She was so gentle and sweet, and she was so good with the kids. But knowing that we had to constantly treat her every year, and then for her to keep having babies on our farm that were likely going to have problems too because it come from her lineage, then that's not what we wanted. We want hardy livestock that can survive in this kind of weather, and that we're not having to constantly treat and give something to them and tend to them constantly. And
somebody asked about us having a barn for our animals. Not saying we won't have a barn one day for some things, but if we get our animals used to a barn and we get our animals used to going in every time the weather might get bad, there's times that they're not going to be close to the barn. And if they're not used to that hardier weather, like our pigs, man, they have been I mean, like no big deal at all through this whole weather.
Aiden said, "Well, my gosh, they're so fat.
Yeah, I mean
not going to get cold."
They have not had any issues, and our lambs haven't. It's been amazing. So I think if we can teach our animals to be sustainable that way, and cull the ones that maybe can't, or either sell or do whatever we're going to do with them, it's just like the chicks. Sometimes when you baby them, you're gonna be babying them, and if that's what you're looking for, and you're looking for more of a hobby pet farm, there's nothing wrong with that. Here, we're not looking for that. I don't have time for that. So we are really trying to have a sustainable livestock.
Right, and we do our very best to take care of all of our animals, do the best with them that we can. But we raise our animals to give us something back. We tend to them, we pour into them, but ultimately it's not a hobby farm. It is a farm. So we look for something in return, just like we were talking about with the chickens. The chickens are out there. We do the best we can with them. They have a heat lamp. They get treats, at least once a week. They're getting something extra, as far as whether it be red pepper flakes. One day, several days later, it might be the mealworm. Several days later, it might be the apple cider vinegar. So all throughout the week, they're getting things extra which of course they can't free range, and we get that. That's why we put the extra. But if they're not going to in return give us eggs, then they got to go.
But common thing, just like she was just talking about, we do preventative maintenance with stuff that we grow. All those herbs that Missy just said, we grow every one of them. So it's, again, a sustainable herb that we're able to feed those animals. We don't make our apple cider vinegar. It's easy to just buy, but it's not something we can not make because it's just fermented apple cider.
Right, and we had like this much red pepper flakes.
Right.
And one of the kids knocked my jar off on the floor and busted it.
We still got to grind those other ones up, to be honest.
Yeah, I still do have several jars. They're in chunks. They're not ground up yet.
Talking about worming and things like that, again, if you worm your animals, no big deal. But if our animals tend to be wormy, or they tend to need more medicine like Elsa did, they need to go too. So I do want to make sure we.
What are the benefits? Does the pepper flakes give chickens internal warmth? Question mark.
I would say the benefit of pepper flakes is just like it does for us. It's good for health. Hot peppers are very good for you. Actually,
the medicinal benefits.
They're very good medicinal.
Like, have you ever heard of like the fire cider?
Yeah. So
and some of the things that are in that, it kind of goes back to the medicinal properties of.
A lot of people give cayenne pepper and red pepper flakes to encourage them to lay. I don't know the scientific reasoning behind that. The reason we give hot pepper flakes, to me, is just a cleansing. It's almost like giving them the kombucha SCOBY, or to give them the apple cider vinegar. It's just a digestive boost for them. Because chickens are nasty. Chickens live in filth all the time. If you name one animal on our farm that is the filthiest animal, I'd say poultry is definitely the filthiest animal. Pigs, they use the restroom in one area, they sleep in another area.
Well, our American guinea hogs do.
No, that's right, true.
I would not say that our Yorkshire blue butts did that by any means. But
Christopher Malthus, you can feed your chickens anything. They'll eat the innards of another animal. So, I mean, I'm not trying to gross you out, but you can feed them anything. Our pigs eat.
There are actually people that do feed their chickens nothing but scraps.
Yeah.
Which we have pigs that eat all of ours. There's not even a crumb left.
Now, we do not give chickens chicken, and we do not give pigs pigs. And I know people do, but if we have pig scraps, they do not go to the chickens.
They usually go to the dogs. I quit giving our pigs bones because we noticed when we took a set of chicken bones and leftover chicken out to our pigs, that right after that, which don't get us wrong, was a lot of nasty weather. It was really, really wet. And the weather was like going from 80 to like 40, 30 and 40 at night. It was just crazy. But that's when one of the babies got sick. Yeah. But we were thinking he had some weird stuff like going on with his breathing and slobbering and stuff, whatever. So we think that it might have been he ate too fast and got choked on a bone. So I won't take them bones anymore, but Hattie Mae enjoys those bones.
Yeah.
That's our Great Pyrenees, and we have a cat, and he likes to eat them too. So
yeah, expect more Hattie Mae. So we give them all the herbs there too.
Eggs. We don't. Which, to be honest with you, they haven't really been laying that much. Just we get a We get a handful, maybe 10 out a week. That's about what we're getting. And to have that many chickens, we should be getting way more.
I know we've talked about this before, but like the least favorite thing on our farm is definitely our chickens for me, or any poultry. That's just not one of our biggest go-to. But you can't beat the fact of the economic meat providing that it does for meat birds. And when the chickens are laying, it's good. So I think a lot of it does with the meat
birds too. It's quick food. It's you can fill your freezer up in a short few weeks. And initially,
for really not a lot of money either. I mean, it's really not.
No, not when you compare it to the grocery store.
Or when you compare it to a pig or a cow. I mean, your investment is
on the dollar in
way
comparison.
Less. If you're looking for protein that's cheap, chicken's where it's at.
Yeah. Now, and initially, the work is not really that hard as far as raising them up, feeding them, and tending to them. I would definitely say the hardest part of the meat birds is the butchering day. Yeah. It's just very, very time consuming.
Have some friends.
When you get everything set up, when you get them all butchered, all cleaned up, all bagged up, and then all of that mess cleaned up, it's literally a whole day ordeal.
But then you have 200 or 300 pounds worth of meat in your freezer for pennies compared to what you would anywhere else.
Yeah.
So, Andrea, I think there's a lot of people that do butchering classes. We do here. We had for our local folks.
Yeah, we have taught a lot of people how to butcher.
Yeah, chicken. And actually 2 or 3 or 4 actually have come back and actually done a second butcher with us, and so it's really worked out really well.
Some went in and bought meat birds with us this time, and we're going to be raising them up in exchange for they're going to come out and help us set up, help us butcher, help us clean up, and do all the bagging and that kind of things in return. So it's going to be great. We're super excited about it.
I think our biggest issue, never enough time, is really the feed. But I've got so much money tied up in this feed, I'm going to make them eat it. I mean, it's good quality feed, but I honestly believe this feed is just something they don't like. And I believe it's caused issues from day one.
Temperamental.
And I think we're going to finish this off.
It's like a little lady that don't get her way, and she crosses her arms and goes stands in the corner and pouts until she gets her way. I guess that's what they're doing.
North Star Prep Setter, depending on what you're raising, if you're raising conventional, non-GMO, or organic, we've done it all 3 ways. Non-GMO was the way that we did the most of, and we were about $1 per pound. On the organic, which we're going to grow a bigger bird this time, but last time we were about $1.51 on the organic bird per pound. You can't touch that in a store, and that is cheap. So that's not counting your labor. I mean, you're going to take a day of labor, and then you're feeding animals just like you do every day. But if you go to Walmart or you go to Kroger or Publix and you're buying organic chicken, you're paying anywhere from $5 to $10 a pound. So if you can get that for $1.50 or $2, say $3, you're still way under.
My wife says she can't do meat birds because she treats them like pets. Yeah, that's one thing we try not to tie our emotions up too much with our animals. Like Colby still to this day will tell you he misses Elsa so much. That was such a hard decision, especially for him because he was out there with her every single day. And it was not fun when we lost Macy several weeks ago. That was another big blow that was hard for us. But we really try not to tie up our emotions too much with them, just knowing that ultimately we're going to take the best care of them as we can, but ultimately they serve one purpose,
like
and
Donald,
that's to feed our family.
I mean, our Donald, one of our sheep, he's at the age where we're letting him just get a little bit bigger, and then he will be processed. So much as we love him, he's actually the gentle. He's really the most gentle lamb we have, or ram we had. But we weathered him, and his whole purpose is to feed us. So, we even though we love him, he gotta go.
Chicken's nothing but a bird.
Nothing but a bird. That's right.
So yeah, he's probably really close to being ready, and I keep telling Colby.
I just want him a little bit bigger. I felt like the last
But Petey, he is like, oh, I love the sheep.
I want him to get bigger.
Like I really didn't want to get sheep. I've never even ate sheep, so this is gonna be a whole new thing for us when I have to start cooking sheep.
She's ate sheep. She just didn't know it. We've actually ate ground sheep.
Ground, yeah. We had the ground. I forgot about that. But the rest of it, I'm gonna have to learn ways. I don't even know. So it's going to be a whole new thing. But I was like, no, I don't think we need to get those. Then we found a lady locally here. Chloe was like, I found them. I need to go get them. And I'm like, we are not buying sheep. And then he was like, talking to this lady, asking her how much she wanted for them. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then we ended up with sheep. And
you
now,
like our sheep too.
And now he doesn't want to take.
I do. I don't want to kill him too soon. So for us, he's got a good structure, but we'd like to get a little bit more fat on him. And actually, our vet, if y'all have seen the vet in several videos, I'll call him Dr. C. But anyways, the vet, that's one of his payments is a rack of lamb. So he wants some lamb. So he's getting, that's part of his payments. I've got a harvest soon.
Yeah,
anyway.
When he come to help us with the intense labor that we had here recently, we said, we haven't forgot about your lamb chops. He started laughing.
All right, guys, so we are looking at an hour. So again, when we talk about sustainability, the one thing that we did 2 or 3 and 4 years ago was the farming was really focused on vegetables. Then we started on meat sustainability. We hit into, of course, proteins with eggs, chickens, and then, of course, cows, pigs. Now, 2021 is not only growing those things, but feeding those things off farm. So that's really been our focus for 2021. As we go into this crazy season of life, it seems like it's just a new challenge each and every day for 2020 and 2021. So challenge you to always do something that you've never done to be better, to be a better homesteader and farm. Hey, we didn't make it all the way through this, did we? So, thank you guys for coming on. God bless you.
Happy homesteading, y'all.
Happy homesteading, y'all.